When you talk to sociologists or people involved in the theory of mission, missiologists, they will, to the last person, tell you that our culture is going through seismic change. In other words, they're using language that draws on the metaphor of an earthquake. And what they're saying, and what many others are suggesting, is that our society, our world, and our culture is going through the kind of change that can only be described in earthquake terminology. And it's been changing like this for the best part of 3 or 4 decades. What is emerging from the stable world of rational modernism is a new world which is somewhat apparently irrational, somewhat unstable, and often called post-modernity. That's the philosophical context. But you and I are not usually thinking about philosophy when we're going about our daily business, and yet the change that is described by these terms are things that you and I see every day. We see the change in the moral landscape. We see the change in the way that people once were able to orientate themselves and navigate a course through life with certain values and vision. Those values and vision that were the points of orientation, the landmarks by which people could walk through life, appear to no longer be there. Take, for instance, family. Family and marriage are so fundamental to human culture that we call them institutions. An institution in a time of cultural change is like a building in a time of an earthquake. Institutions are literally crumbling. And as they crumble, they become less and less secure to those that go through that experience of brokenness. And so we see a whole generation growing up who no longer see marriage as the greatest thing in life. They no longer see family as a place of security. Family for them has been a place of brokenness. The family has fallen in on them, and they've experienced pain through that. They've experienced pain through marriage. And so even those that choose marriage often choose not to have children because they just don't want to go through that level of brokenness that they and all of their peers have experienced. People who've gone through stable family backgrounds, people in the churches that I've led, have often said to me, now why is it that my kids, being raised in a stable home, in a stable marriage, and in a good family, operate in exactly the same way as all of their friends when it comes to thinking about a life partner? What's the problem? And of course the answer is that everybody's breathing the same atmosphere. These kids may well have come from a stable home, but everyone around them has come out of a broken home. And so they think they were just lucky. You see, they're in the midst of a seismic change. They're in the midst of a social earthquake. And this means that the maps that we used to use as our reference don't seem to work anymore. Now, almost everybody knows that. It's very difficult to raise teenagers. Almost everybody knows that it's very difficult to engage with young adults about issues of responsibility. And I've spent most of my life doing all of that stuff, and so I really do understand the pressures and issues involved there. The maps, the ways in which we orientate ourselves, don't seem to help us because the landscape has changed so much. And when you talk to the average pastor and the average church leader, they'll tell you the same thing. The programs that worked no longer seem to. The things that they used to do and seem to produce fruit and the kinds of results that they were looking for prayerfully in their ministry now don't seem to be produced by those same programs. And so they're looking for something else, and they're looking for a way of leading their people through this changed landscape. Well, what you need in such an environment is a compass. Because if the maps don't work, then you need something that does. The writer to the Hebrews in the New Testament was dealing with just such a set of circumstances. The people in Jerusalem and Judea were being severely persecuted, and their world was in upheaval. And what the writer to the Hebrews, we're not sure of who wrote that letter, what the writer to the Hebrews said was this: God is behind the shaking that you're experiencing. And what you need in the midst of the shaking is a compass. And the writer, he put it like this: Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The compass is Jesus. And so what I've attempted to do over the years as I've worked with this generation that's emerged through all of this change, and as I've been a church leader and church planter and builder, is try to give people tools that get them back to Jesus so that they can follow him through these times of seismic change. And that means that we need to learn from him and engage with him at a fresh level, beyond the information, into what it is that Jesus really meant when he first trained and taught his disciples. So that's basically the idea behind Life Shapes.